Hey there! Welcome back to Reddit Dating, best channel for cheating stories. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more spicy stories. I, 26 male, will be breaking up with my girlfriend, 25 female, of 1.5 years today, and I would like some advice on how to focus on myself instead of the pain that is being caused in the short term. After nearly 1.5 years of being unhappy, I want to end my relationship with my girlfriend today. We started dating shortly after the pandemic began, and she moved in with me before we were even formally boyfriend/girlfriend. Title doesn't really important to me, but whatever. We started fast and were definitely in the honeymoon phase for the first 2 months, and then we had back-to-back weeks where she got physical with me and put her hands around my neck. She's weak, so I got her off me easily. She got too drunk, started speaking inappropriately to everyone about our relationship, and even grinded on one of my friends. Since then, the relationship has been poisonous and exhausting. We've split up twice for much the same reason. I'm fatigued from the work I put into a relationship, where it seems like I'm the only one putting out effort, and yet she continually sends me TikToks and other social media about how to love your spouse effectively, despite the fact that my needs have never been satisfied. For the longest time, I hesitated to ask for what I wanted. But I've gotten better, and oddly, my pleas are either received with annoyance or an alright that amounts to nothing. After our second split, she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which I had been researching previous to the breakup and felt validated about. But after a month, I slid back into the poisonous comfort of being with her, and here we are. She continues to expect more and more from me, but there is only so much time in a day. I don't have my needs addressed, and there's been no sign in the previous 1.5 years that things will improve. In fact, they're becoming worse. The longer I remain in this relationship, the more harm it will do to my own development. Update. Hello once again, everyone. It's been approximately a month since my ex and I ended our relationship. During the split, I requested for space and begged her not to contact me, but she proceeded to push the boundaries by texting and phoning practically every day for 2 weeks. I banned her after about 2 weeks because she wouldn't stop and started sending me rude messages. I deleted Snapchat so I wouldn't be tempted to check it to see whether she had posted anything in our group conversation. I began rereading Daphne Rose Kingma's book Coming Apart. This was the third breakup. Not the first time I'd read it, haha. It's a useful book for navigating the end of a relationship. Being in the same buddy circle as her has been very difficult, but I've secluded myself until this past weekend. She turned up to events when she wasn't meant to and made them about herself. Shocking. I was able to distance myself, and some of my friends and family really came through for me, making me feel secure and loved. In any case, the book's exercises on going through the whole tale of the relationship are really beneficial. They come highly recommended by me. I had a run-in with my ex last night, which sparked a fury in me that I wasn't aware of. And I suppose this is the rage portion of the cycle. Her shenanigans are obvious. Unfortunately, she's a very horrible person, and I'm fighting with both anger at myself for allowing this to continue for as long as it did and anger at her for being a jerk who has no clue how to be introspective or have empathy for others. She always sees herself as a victim. The farther I go from her, the more obvious her deceptive techniques become, and the more enraged I am. She has a playbook that I'll share with you below. She is a BPD narcissist, and what you read/watch online is pretty much the basic pattern. Not really. It makes me furious and sad. She's on the outs with many of my pals, but with the ones she's committed to, she's doing the following. Being extremely kind and doing acts of service to make her seem caring, choosing friends who are too lovely for their own good, and using them as passengers to get her thoughts across. My over-under bet is that it will be a month before she reverts to her old self and begins gossiping behind their backs and being into everyone. Fortunately, numerous individuals in the group see this and do not trust her, so I may not have to deal with her forever. Part of me hopes for the best for her, that she would finally get the assistance she needs from a professional. Instead of taking her pills for a week and then forgetting about them, she really takes them. That she focuses on being sympathetic and seeing others as excellent in their own right, rather than as receptacles for her attention. But when I reread what I've stated in the past, I realize that this is only a projection of my own internal desire to constantly be better for myself and others. Yet there's no scientific evidence that she ever do it for herself. It bothers me, but I'm hoping to separate my emotions from hers while I combat my codependent addiction with her. On a brighter side, I have a date on Thursday with someone I've known for a long bit and just now starting to know. She's a firm believer. I'm not sure where it'll lead, but I'm moving on and my ex isn't going to stop me. I'm finally clinging to my self-worth and recognizing that I'm not a nasty person who deserves to be mocked. I am deserving of something wonderful and kind. Nobody deserves to be humiliated. I hope that anybody battling with a narcissist may understand what I'm going through and know that their journey doesn't end just because someone else is tormenting you. You're a powerful person, whether you realize it or not. You've got it. And if you need assistance from an anon on the internet, anybody with a heart will be there for you. Story 2. Married for 19 years before my wife cheated on me. This is my first visit to Reddit. I'll be 75 in July, and I've seen a lot. To be honest, I wanted to share my tale with the younger generation before I died. Because I have lung cancer and don't expect to live much longer, this information has to go out there. In 1964, I was 18 years old when I married. It's as though I'm no longer the same person. I used to be in excellent physical condition, but now I'm confined to a wheelchair. My wife and I had to work full-time since I didn't have enough money to support both of us. She cleaned hotel rooms while I worked on construction. We never had children and yet had time to ourselves on weekends. I don't believe we ever fought, but it's been so long that I'm forgetting, and we didn't have any problems getting along. I began to generate more money over time, and she was able to leave her work and remain at home. I would work longer nights, however, and our marriage honestly deteriorated into a friendship. We seldom had, and although I still loved her, I felt something was missing. We didn't spend nearly enough time together in the end. I accept responsibility for taking us down the wrong path with my employment. As you will see later, this was not the only problem, but I should have corrected it while I still had the opportunity. When I go home from work one night, everything seems to be usual. Dinner was served, and the TV was on to baseball, which used to be my favorite sport. I chatted to her briefly in the kitchen before going to my room to change out of my work clothes. When I walked in, I saw a box of condoms on my nightstand. I began to worry since I had a vasectomy years ago and had never used condoms. I quickly questioned my wife about them, and she was unable to come up with an answer in time. She burst into tears and confessed to the infidelity. She brought a coworker over for while I was away and apparently failed to dispose of the condoms. I'm not embarrassed to confess that I, too, was moved to tears after hearing that. When I asked her why she did this, she replied she wasn't attracted to me, was lonely, and didn't like our. I couldn't think of anything to say and ended up leaving. We divorced after 19 years of marriage. I was a catastrophe in my 40s. I had lost all hope and tried to continue. I began drinking and gradually developed into an alcoholic. It took me until I was in my 60s to break this habit. I couldn't look in the mirror and see myself as a failure of a guy. I went to date again, but I was afraid that the same thing might happen. It never occurred to me that I was awful in bed and I had no good responses. My skin began to wrinkle a little, particularly on the back of my legs, but I took care in keeping my figure for a long, and I swore she loved it when I had throughout our marriage. I preserved my tough man persona into my 30s, and I still wore my bandana during, which she found appealing. I was a generous person who always went down on her when she asked. I utilized cock rings to keep erections going and could always climax extra hard, which was a fetish of hers. I couldn't do anything else if I tried my hardest. However, as time passed, I began to consider the thought that was it all that vital at an older age, and I began dating again approximately 5 years ago. We don't have an active life, but she assured me that nothing was wrong with me. I remarried last year, which made me very happy, but sadly, it was also the time when I was diagnosed with cancer. I've lost a lot of energy since then, and my new wife is the only one who keeps me going. We're attempting chemotherapy, but the outlook is grim. In my final days, I'd want to contribute some of the information I've gained over the years in order to make the world a better place. My mental faculties are also deteriorating, therefore I need to act quickly. I hope everyone who reads this can take something from me to make their lives better.